Oh yes, legends. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing fantastic. We'll be analyzing the situation here for the price of Bitcoin because a big move is going to happen. I'll explain why in this live stream. Let's go. How is everybody doing, guys? Make sure to absolutely destroy that like button if you do enjoy the content, guys. You do have the like button just down below if you do enjoy the content. Helps the algorithm. If you do enjoy it, smash it up right away. Let's go and talk about the price of Bitcoin. As we get some people joining in, I want to know the general sentiment, okay? Bears are screwed. We have here in the comment section. Turn up, down music, buddy. All right, okay, calm down. We'll turn the music down a little bit, right? Turn it a little bit down. I want to ask the people and do a poll first of all before we go through the projected movements, right? Bitcoin forming a bull flag right over here, right? We got the poll. There we go. Breakout. Let's go. We're heading to $105,000, right? Easy peasy, guys. This is it. Bull flag. We break out. We head up to $104,000. Probably not going to be that easy, right? It's probably not going to be that easy. So we'll get a little bit more technical here, guys, for all of those people that really want to get into the pure technical analysis here locally and understand the local projections. That's what we're going to do here on the live. And of course, we're going to go through the comment section. Bitcoin is bearish, FFS. It's pretty crazy because you do have a lot of people bullish and you have a lot of people bearish. So it's like a very, very big fight between bulls and bears. And I want to ask the people here on the comment section. Okay, I'm going to create that poll. What comes next for Bitcoin, right? And this is like a higher time frame perspective. All-time high, baby. Or 74K, right? Let's say minus 74K, which is the lows of the range. I want to know the general sentiment here because, and we can see it on the poll, right? What comes next for Bitcoin? Do we get to all-time high in the next coming months, weeks or months, or do we test the lows? We're literally in the middle, right? We're literally in the middle. What comes next? All-time high or 74K for Bitcoin? Let me know on the poll, guys. What do you think? We have it right over here. I want to know the general sentiment. And this is where you're going to see the fight of the bulls and the bears, okay? It's happening here. It's going to happen here. Get your votes in, guys, and then we'll go through the local price action, okay? Get those votes kicking in to see the general sentiment, right? Most of them, bears are picking up here. Bears are picking up. All-time high, baby. Bears are picking up, right? So you can see 60-40, 59-41. Woo. Yeah. We're going to be talking about the general, technical analysis here, okay? We'll be going through the projected targets. What do we have? Most importantly, understanding this movement, guys. We need to understand this movement for the moment because I wish, right, this would be a bull flag, right? And we are going to get that breakout. And yeah, we're heading up to above $100,000, right? It's not that easy. Of course, we do have a three-wave structure right now. And for us to have a major projected breakout, a pullback is necessary, right? A pullback is necessary. And we're going to be talking about the different projections right away, okay? Most importantly, what most of the people do not like to do is really focus on the local technical analysis and really understand this movement right over here. And why the probabilities still lean for another high, right? Still lean for another high to be tested. However, we are forming a little bit of a sideways corrective structure for the moment, forming a little bit of a triangle that could break down, right? This triangle could break up, could break down. We'll be talking about the possible movements that could happen in this range, right? You could get a little bit of volatility after this wedgie, right, triangle structure that is getting squeezed at the moment. And as we do have these highs, we have a wave here, we have this wave in a triangle, and we could form another wave here before we get the movement to the upside potentially, right? I'm going to explain how the price action can develop based on the information that we do have. That's what we like to do, right? Understanding, the different projections we do have. Hey, this does look corrective. I do expect the price to hit the highs, right? So we'll be building up some projections here based on Fibonacci Elliott wave theory, okay? Let's go through comment section before we start off. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. If the microphone's good, I'll say 72K, says 𝗞𝗏𝗏𝗽. Oh, bulls gonna get wrecked. Bulls are gonna get wrecked. We're starting to get some people quite bearish. Lots of people have been very, very bullish. Of course, this doesn't look too great, right? This price action, the choppiness. We do realize, the bears are going to go in favor here with this situation, right? This scenario right over here that we mentioned about a week ago, right? Accumulation. We are looking for a reversal. This was almost 2 weeks ago. At some point here, regardless if we test the lows or not, we are looking for that pump, right? To head up to 95K, maybe 100K, getting that reversal when we were trading at the 80K levels, right? This is higher time frame. And, when we do see the similarities of this price action, right? You can basically see how we have been, almost mirroring. We kind of front run a little bit, but you can see the distribution event, right? Distribution event, the drop, accumulation event, a nice pump to the upside. And as a lot of people might say, hey, history does not need to repeat, right? Well, it's all on the charts, right? You can, this is a distribution, this is an accumulation, you get the pump. With this pump, you start facing some resistance, right? Now, the main question on the higher time frame is, will we get a pullback and manage to get a leg up? Or will this pullback be very aggressive, right? That is the main question. And we will have that information as soon as the price gets the movement down, because what we want to see at this resistance zone, because we are in resistance here at the 96k area, what we want to see is a three-wave corrective structure, right? A little bit of a wedge, right? And when you realize compared to this movement up, this is corrective, right? So eventually we will get that information to be confident to say, guys, this does look bullish. It looks corrective. We're looking for another leg up and probably heading to all-time high. But it all depends on the rejection, right? And as explained, you have the golden pocket, and you know, we ever so slightly scratched the golden pocket, okay? You're coming into this major consolidation right over here, and we are mirroring kind of this move from the previous cycle. We are moving a few months in advance, okay? So the drop here happened in May. The drop that we had happened in February. The pump that happened here happened in July. Now it happened in April. So you can see how the price is moving, you know, a few months in advance from the 4-year cycle theory. But this price action is very, very similar, right? It's on the chart. It's very, very similar. As you can see, you cannot make it up, right? Very, very similar. And we are coming to this level of resistance, which is, okay, the value area low, point of control, golden pocket from the pivot high to the pivot low, almost scratching that golden pocket, not quite reached it yet. And we have eventually value area low and the point of control from this range, right? Not quite reaching that point of control, but you already have that high volume cluster. And this is the zone where the price, right, on the previous cycle, when you have a distribution, accumulation, right, you usually find some issues, right? At the golden pocket where you get to the point of control, you just find a bit of issues, right? And I do understand right now the bears out there, they're getting, you know, saying, you know, bulls are going to get wrecked right now. We had the pump and, you know, it's time for a rollover, right? Despite testing the highs or not, right? Which do look like we are going to test the highs at 96k, right? Probably head to 97, 98, right? Maybe create that choppiness, but a pullback makes sense here. A pullback makes a lot of sense, and what we want to see in that pullback is literally a three-wave structure, right? Chilled three-wave structure that does not look impulsive, right? We don't want to see a major move down and then a big leg to the downside, right? You're forming 5 waves down like this very aggressively, then this won't look too great, right? Obviously you're looking for a bounce of some stage, but if you start moving very aggressively here in the next, you know, coming weeks, it's not going to be looking too good. So the third wave, you want it pretty shallow, right? So what you want to see is literally that movement down, correction, another move down, and then, you know, this movement up overlapping these pivot lows. This will be looking absolutely great for the price to move to the upside. So we will get that information, and this is higher time frame. This is the daily chart, of course. You know, you would expect this to develop in the next coming weeks, a little bit of boring momentum. But it looks interesting, right? There's no doubt about it. We do have a lot of resistance here at the 95, 96k zone, okay? And we do have a daily level. We do have weekly level also in this area, right? When we do go to the weekly time frame, we can see how, let me double check here that the sound is good, legends. Okay. Volume up, volume up. We have a weekly level also at that zone. And you know what is very interesting and disturbing, okay? You know what is very interesting and disturbing looking at the higher time frame, legends? You can see that weekly right over here. Look all of these weekly candles closing over here in February, where the point of control is very, very, very strong resistance without a doubt, okay? What is very interesting is the monthly chart. Monthly chart. When we do go to the monthly chart, we can see how we filled the wick here, guys, okay? This is very interesting. We do have the month close tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow is the last day of the month. And you can see how this monthly candle has filled this entire wick, right? So it's very interesting. Usually when you fill these wicks, you at least get some kind of a reversal, okay? You at least get some kind of a reversal when you fill these kind of wicks, right? This is the monthly time frame. We filled it. So you would expect some kind of a reversal here and not, you know, massive continuation to the upside, right? That's what you would expect here after getting up to this zone, looking at the monthly, right? Fill the wick and then get a bit of a pullback. So let's go on the 1 hourly time frame and zoom in and try and understand what is going on in this area, because this is getting a little bit boring. A lot of people also would speculate that we are forming a Bart-Simpson pattern, guys. Who knows about the Bart-Simpson pattern, right? Anybody knows about a Bart-Simpson pattern? There he is, right? Bart-Simpson pattern, legends. Could be on the formation. Enough of that. We're going to focus on the waves here, okay? Let's go right away on the 50-minute time frame and analyze this local situation to get ready for some possible movements and some intraday setups. The most important levels of support in this zone and the most important levels of resistance, and how can the price develop, right, in the next coming days, right? Because there's several options. The price can move in certain patterns, and we are going to throw a few of them. We're going to say, right, what if the price action moves like this? Then we could expect this, right? If the price action moves like that, then we could expect this movement, right? That's how we get to the conclusion to look for the trading setups. We create plans, right? And that's what we're going to do right away, guys. So make sure to stay tuned. Let me just go quickly through the comment section and we'll focus on this local zone. Nice, beautiful move to the upside from the last, several days last week. And now this big consolidation. And it does look like there's high probability in taking out the highs one more time. One more time. Whether it's going to be a breakout and we absolutely moon, or it's going to be a fake out, right? We get exhausted and then we start getting the big correction to the downside. It doesn't matter. Probabilities still lean to the side of hitting this high, which I want to explain right away. Okay, so let's go through the short trade. Let's go, Pratesh, my man. It's about time, right? Bitcoin's overextended. It's been too bullish already. It's time to roll over, right? Dump to 84K first. Stop, says Peter. A lot of people bearish. Great artist. A lot of drawing. We'll get to the technicals right away, okay? The idea is to build up, pure technical analysis. Look at the probabilities of the movements that could happen, right? We don't know nobody knows what's going to happen, right? At the end of the day, 55K incoming. All-time high, but I'm going to go short, says Amarab. Yeah, I mean, locally, it does make sense, guys. 55K incoming. We're going south, guys. Yeah, it is very interesting, okay? Because another bars pattern, maybe 100K, then dump. Andy, thanks for the knowledge. Always give us. Camilo, much love to you, my man. Something I get confused by all of the possibilities. It would be nice if you could give us the most probabilistic scenario at the end of the lives. Absolutely, my man. Pratesh, much love to you. All right, guys. I hope you destroyed that like button. We're over almost 100 likes. Let's see here the poll. What comes next for Bitcoin? Ooh, look at this, guys. Look at this. Slightly more people leaning to all-time high. The low is in, and 43% of people for the moment are leaning that we're going to go down, guys. So make sure to battle in the comment section. You bulls and bears, make sure to absolutely battle and give your reasons why you are bearish. Lots of bears, but also lots of bulls, thinking about all-time high. We're going to focus on the probabilities, at least locally, guys, okay? Because this could still continue as a correction. The low could be in. There are many patterns to believe that the low could be in, okay? The low maybe is not in. So what is more interesting is focusing on the local scenarios, this local area, because on the higher time frame, there's too many scenarios, right? So we're going to focus locally and look for some projected moves of a couple of $1,000s and some local trading setups. Let's get a trading plan of a few $1,000s. That's what we do. But, you know, we got many scenarios. This could be the end in a WXY double zigzag. It could be a, you know, just a ABC right over here. A wave in a expanding move, B wave, okay? And then here, this contracting move finishing your C wave. Low could be in. Maybe the low is not in. And, you know, we are going to form a much larger WXY where we have a zigzag. We have this movement here to the upside also being your X. And maybe you do get a movement down, okay, in the next coming weeks. And you still form a larger corrective move, regardless if the price were to come down to $74,000 for all of those bears. All of this would still be corrective. All of this would still look very corrective, in my opinion, okay? And eventually we would be expecting all-time highs later on, right? After coming down to the lows and consolidating, finding support somewhere, right? So yeah, the low could be in or the correction could continue. But this is why we focus on the lower time frame, because there's so many scenarios on the higher time frame that, you know, local scenarios is what's going to give us the information. For the moment, the information is take out the highs again. And it's simple. Why? Why do you think that the highs are going to be taken, even though if it's for a swing failure pattern or a breakout, right? Or even consolidate here and then get the movement up? It's because from this high to the low, this does not look impulsive. It does not look like a breakdown. This is why when we created this move to the downside right over here, the probabilities were leaning to still hit the highs, as mentioned on one of the previous streams. This correction here that we had from 95K all the way down to 92K. This is corrective, guys. I'm still looking for a new high to be formed, as all of this structure looks very corrective. Very, very corrective. No, you know, this is a correction. We're looking for another high, right? It's just it's the highest probability scenario. So we're going to come to that conclusion. Same thing. You know, the more locally, as I was explaining to the legends, hitting this high at some point is highly likely. And it has to do with this range, which looks incredibly corrective. Okay? Could we still continue ranging and form some different options, right? Maybe yes, and then we take the high, right? This range could continue, and we could dip down even to sweep up these lows, right? It could be an option. You know, you're still inside a major range. You know, this could be an option as well. But regardless, you know, looking for these highs to be tested at least one more time in the next, you know, couple of days. And that has to do, right, just understanding the movement down, right? Because you need to give an explanation, right? You need to explain why do you think there's a high chance that we do create one more high. Well, first of all, what we do have is this movement to the downside that can be counted as a 3-wave structure, can be counted as a 5-waver as well. A very dodgy contracting move, but with your 5th wave expanding ever so slightly. Your low would have to be here. This would be an ABC flat. And then this movement down here, another ABC flat, and then another movement down, right? Counting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, I like it more as a 3-wave structure. It counts better as a 3-wave structure. Regardless, this movement to the upside did hit the 0.88 Fibonacci. And 0.88 Fibonacci is rare for a wave 2. Very, very rare. And it's more common for a corrective structure, right? Either in a B wave or a WXY, right? Whatever. 0.88 is most common to be inside of a corrective structure. Not only that, we had this movement down, this movement to the upside. Wave 2s, you want 50% or 7/8 Fibonacci to be hit and then roll down, right? Boom. You know, and start moving down aggressively to start a new trend. 0.88 touch increases probability that this area is corrective. from this movement down to the upside, right, and this bounce, 0.88 touch again. 0.88 touch again. So if you are thinking of a bearish scenario here to break down before testing the highs, the probabilities for a 1-2 setup here are highly unlikely, purely based on the 0.88 touch. 0.88 touch here and 0.88 touch here. So multiple 1-2, 1-2, and then the third wave down is low probability. And what we are looking at here is part of a corrective structure. Very, very likely a corrective move. Now it's where it gets a little bit confusing, right? Now, with this triangle formation, you could get a breakdown, right? People will say this is a triangle. If we break down, you know, we keep it simple, right? For anybody that's want to use this simple pattern technical analysis, we're getting a triangle. The width of your triangle is the target zone from the breakout. You break down, you're looking at this. You break up, you're looking at this, right? I don't trust these kind of projections, I have to say. There's some other things that I'm watching, so which I want to share with you. So we got a triangle here. We do have a triangle. This high to this low, you can count this as a 3-wave move. You can count this as a 3-wave move. You can count it as a 5-waver. Not the most beautiful. We were leaning on the possibility of a zigzag here, running flat. If that were to be the case, where you do have a running flat, all right, and the price action needs to continue to the upside, right, what we are looking at here is a multiple 1-2 setup. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, boom, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, right? You just continue grinding here in your 4 5s after an explosive breakout. Is this possible? Absolutely. We're leaning more on the bullish probabilities here. So could this be the case? It could happen. It could happen. More probabilities on the bullish area than the bearish one, based on this consolidation here that looks more corrective. However, you know, what if this is the high? What if this was the high here and your correction starts from here? I don't like this one because it's a 3-wave move. You can magically count a 5-wave structure in this movement, but it would have to be something like this, which looks incredibly horrible. It would be a kind of an expanding, you know, dodgy move, very, very dodgy 5-wave move here to the upside. So I prefer seeing this as a 3-wave move, not a 5-wave, right? I think it looks pretty, you know, very, very straightforward for me that this is more of a 3-wave structure. But if the correction were to be starting from here, what you can count this is a 3-wave move down, and now you have a triangle. Now, the thing about this, what you would be looking at here is a WXY sideways corrective move, okay? Where you have your zigzag, you have your triangle in X, and then you're going to form your Y. Because this movement to the upside did hit the 7 Fibonacci, it decreases the probability of forming a double zigzag. You got a zigzag, correction, and a zigzag down. This movement has low probability for the moment because of this movement to the upside. When you do hit the 7 Fibonacci, a double zigzag, you know, you decrease the probability for a double zigzag, okay? So, well, if a zigzag is low probability, how can you finish your Y, right? How can you finish your Y in a WXY? Well, if you formed a zigzag move on your W, you can only form either a triangle on your Y, which would be weird because if X is a triangle, and to form your Y in a triangle as well would be very, very rare, okay? Having two triangles in a WXY sideways corrective move is extremely rare. So you would say that's low probability. You know, there's low probability in forming a triangle here. For the moment, I mean, this triangle, you do have your 5 waves in, which is an A, B, C, D, E, right? You cannot make it up. You have this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, right? You come into the end of the triangle, so you would be expecting a breakout. What other movements could you, right? And we can map this as an ABC, right? Either the B wave here or the B wave here. This could be kind of a sideways running flat. It doesn't really matter. But you're mapping this as a 3-wave move. You got your A, B, C, D, E here, possible X. A zigzag, not possible because you already formed a zigzag here. A triangle, very rare if your X is a triangle already to form another triangle in your wave Y. Of course, this would be bullish, guys. You would be expecting the price to break out because you're in a sideways correction. And then the other option would be a flat, which is the one that has the highest probability if we were to be forming this type of corrective move. So what you would want to see here develop on your Y wave, you would see a breakdown potentially, okay, of this triangle, right? You would get that initial breakdown of the triangle here. Of course, you would find some support at some stage, right? I wouldn't expect a major move to the downside. So the first level of support where you could get an intraday bounce would be, of course, the point of control value area, low area. Of course, we have a new point of control right now with all of this consolidation that we formed, you know, the last 24 hours. But you have a high volume node here. This was the point of control before forming this price action. You know, when we do get the fixed volume profile and we don't count today's price action, for example, we do have the point of control being down here. So point of control with this low, without a doubt, would be very, very interesting. You do have higher low support as well, right? Higher low support trend line. Let's just keep it simple. You got higher low support trend line, point of control, value area low, sweep of these lows. I wouldn't think that these lows would be hit. Maybe yes, depending on you know how aggressive we would move down there. But the overall idea here is that we're looking for a possible flat. So you could get that movement down, find support at the point of control, and then the price starts recovering here, comes back up to the highs, okay, and then gets back down to the lows. And this is incredible. Well, we've been ranging, right? It's literally just continuing the range. It's just literally continuing the range. But that is a movement that can happen when you are forming sideways WXY. It's a movement that could happen. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if it does happen, this is going to be the bullish entry. This, if the price action moves like this, you come down, test the lows, get a bounce, and you just continue the range. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for this kind of movement. You're forming a flat, ABC flat in your Y wave, right? Literally it would be this right over here. Why can we form this, right? Why can we, you know, form this structure, right? All of this drawing, right? Looks like massive speculation, right? This dude doing all of this type of drawing. It's if the price moves like this, I will understand that, you know, you get a movement down, you bounce out the point of control, right? Or your SFP from the local higher lows of yesterday. Very possible. I would say this is actually a pretty good long trade. You got lots of support. Okay, this would be a good area to bounce. Some may believe that because it's a triangle, you're just going to go lower. right? You have a longer, you've got a bigger projected move. But what it could be an aggressive long all the way back up to the highs, of the range of today. But what I'm more interested in is in this movement back down to the lows, forming this swing failure pattern. And, a lot of people, these patterns do happen, okay? These kind of patterns do happen. You just need it to happen to realize, okay, the level where I want to get into a long is the double bottom here, which is basically a flat, right? This is the area that I want to long. This is the area where I want to long. Anybody that is not aware of WXY sideways corrective moves, in this case, we do have a triangle finishing here. But if X is already a triangle, well, you would be looking for either a flat or a zigzag, and a zigzag is not possible at the moment. So we're going with the flat, right? And the flat would just be continuing the range, right? Come down to the lows, come down to the highs, then come back down to the lows. And you're like, hey, what's going on, right? Are we going to break or what? It's going to be a little bit confusing here for the local traders. This is the interesting one. When you formed the flat already, movement down, sweep up the local highs of today, movement back down, and this is the area. I mean, if you want to be a bit of a sniper, then you could look at the 1.618 extension, but it might be a regular flat where you just get to the 236,382 value area low, you find support. Best way to trade this is literally double bottom. As soon as you recover from the lows of your A wave, that is when you want to trigger stop loss beneath the low, and you're targeting the highs eventually, right? The overall game idea of this would be like that. And this is possible because from the highs created here on Friday, last Friday, it's just a sideways complex correction. It's a sideways complex correction that can be rangy. And I don't know if this is going to happen, but if it does happen, I know exactly, where there's the high probability long setup. Because you got your zigzag move here, your triangle possibly in your X, and then price just breaks down, gets a bit of volatility, pump, dump, right? And this would be the long trigger. I don't know if this is going to develop, but I know it can develop based on the information that we have here. So this is the thing, right? It's just creating a plan, realizing that this is, an option. This is one of the options that could happen. So you just want to take that into consideration. Of course, as mentioned the last few days, we do have the bullish scenario here. In the bullish scenario, keeping it simple, is this ABC running flat. I don't like this to be the high. I don't like this to be the high. And the reason is simple. Three-wave move up. Three-wave move up. I don't like it. For this to be the high and to count a correction from here, all of this, I personally don't like it too much. And the main reason why is because we moved up in a three-wave structure. So I like the general idea that we mentioned a few days ago, which is zigzag, and a very disturbing, difficult 5-wave move to the downside here. Not the most beautiful one, very dodgy, very choppy, but I like that idea. Running flat, and this running flat is mainly possible because of this 3-wave move to the upside. So despite the WXY that we talked about here, WX triangle, and we form a flat scenario and then we move up, or this is the other scenario, running flat, they all head up, okay? They all look for this movement. They all look for this movement up to test the highs, right? Basically the highs from Friday. It doesn't matter which one happens. So maybe you are just easy peasy getting into a long from lower, right? 92K or 93K. You know, you trust the analysis, you trust the probabilities, right? And I'm just going to go long from these corrective moves because I do understand that testing the highs has the highest probability. Unless you have some alerts and you're ready to see the price, how it develops in the next coming hours, you know, next couple of days, you just get ready, right? So if this right over here is a running flat, which I like, and the main reason why I like it more is because of this three-wave structure. I don't like to count this correction here from this high because of this three-wave structure. That's it, period. Easy. You know, that's the main reason why I don't like counting the correction from this high, because we have a three-wave move to the upside. So the ABC running flat for me looks pretty juicy. It looks pretty, you know, it looks good. Okay, so what if the price does break out from here, right? What are we, you know, what is next? If the price breaks up, okay? You know, because I'm very interested in the shorts here, guys. I have to say, I'm very interested in shorting. And the easiest thing to get into a short is wait for a breakdown in 5 waves. Wait for a confirmation through, you know, 5-wave move down, and the bounce is going to be your golden ticket, golden pocket from high to low. Get into the point of control region, easy peasy, right? This is like the easiest short ever. You wait for that first initial breakdown, right? You wait for the impulsive move and possible shift of the trend, and you need an aggressive 5-wave, you know, impulsive move down. You know, it's the best, it's the easiest ways to get into a trend, right? Confirmation is getting that 5-wave move down at some point, right? Wherever it happens, get the confirmation down instead of trying to catch the highs for the short position or adding to the position, because we might break through and go to 100K. I'm in no short at the moment, but I'm very interested in the shorts for sure. That is for sure. You know, I am eyeing the zone to get into a short position. And keeping it simple in a nutshell, you know, for all of those that want to be more conservative, wait for the first initial breakdown in 5 waves, you know, to the downside. Wait for a 5-wave impulsive move, and the bounce is what you want to analyze very carefully. You're looking for a corrective move to the downside, right? Here, you're moving up very impulsively. You are correcting. You know, there's been some really nice, you know, interesting long trading setups from here, from this zone. Everything points out that we're going to hit the highs. We're going to hit the highs. So you want to see the corrections. You want to understand that all of this looks corrective, as mentioned on the previous videos as well, right? From this range, it all looks corrective. So getting into scalp day trade longs, you know, has advantage because all of these, you know, all of this sideways momentum looks corrective. Okay, so there's no initial. I know it looks choppy. It looks choppy, and it looks like it's getting exhausted and it wants to roll over. But as a intraday, you know, trader and technical analyst, I understand that still the advantage is moving up. The advantage is still moving up despite any of the different options that I explained here. Running flat ABC, and we get the multiple 1-2 setup, which is going to be interesting because it could be a scenario that we do get that breakout potentially today, right? Big move happening soon, maybe, right? Regardless if it's down or up. And obviously when we get this squeeze, it would be a relatively big-ish move of a few $1,000s, right? You would expect a nice little pump of a few $1,000s, of a breakout of a triangle. So when we do analyze this situation, if this is a running flat and your wave to the upside here starts from this pivot, I want to see the price action develop like I am going to draw right now. where I have my first initial leg to the, and this is perfect for a multiple 1-2. This is the kind of price action that you want to see for a multiple 1-2 setup. 1-2, 1-2. Your second and third 1-2s are smaller than your first 1-2. You don't want to see your second 1-2 larger than your first 1-2, because you know, then you're probably looking at something else. Maybe this is an ABC up and then you're going to break down. But looking at the second, third 1-2s to be smaller than your first 1-2, that's actually how you want to see the double 1-2s develop, right? And of course, what you would be expecting here at some point, and just in simple terms, if you were to get that breakout, people would just keep it simple instead of looking at the waves and say, dude, we're breaking out from the triangle. This is the target. Leave your waves alone. All right. It's simple. You know, you're overcomplicating yourself, right? Well, this is, you know, I like the detailed analysis, right? I like the detail on how the price could move, right? Which, you know, not many people like to do on the lower time frame. You know, get the projections, you know, on how the price can move. You know, that's my passion, right? Really try and, you know, look at the local intraday movements, how you know, and many times we're right? I am wrong a lot of times as well, right? We can't say we're right always, but we kind of try and give an explanation on, I would like to see this kind of development with the price action, and to then realize when I want to short, right? In this case, right? Where I would like to short, where I would like to start thinking of a short position, because to the upside, we do have massive amount of resistance, right? It's pretty damn epic how much resistance we do have at 96, 97K, right? You have the golden pocket, the most respected Fibonacci. And maybe it's going to be that simple, guys. We hit the golden pocket, we hit the point of control, and that's it. We start rolling over. Maybe it's that simple. Maybe it just gets up there, and as soon as you get into the golden pocket, tap the point of control, it starts rolling over. Maybe it's going to be that simple. But I'm going to explain the, you know, the difficult part, right? How could the price develop here to the upside? And, you know, what kind of choppiness we're looking for. Well, what I'm looking for is choppiness. If we were to get that breakout from here, if we were to get that breakout, okay, importance, if we were, not saying that we are, if we were to get this breakout, and this is still realizing, guys, that we could still be inside of a fifth wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth wave is getting developed, currently getting developed with these multiple 1-2s, right? And at the end of the day, this could still be part of a, you know, 3-wave structure for the moment. It's getting a little bit too long here, I have to say, and I don't like to see this as your wave 5. I mean, it could have been the, you know, this, it could have been the ender. It could have been the end, right? And we're trying to map all of this situation. It could have been, you know, a 5-wave move to the upside here already. But I don't like it. I don't like it. Maybe, you know, maybe this is just going to still be a lower high right there. You know, for me, it makes sense to claim the highs. Purely based on this kind of price action. It does not look bearish at all for the moment. Even though lots of people might say, you know, it's getting exhausted. Come on, you know, it's going to roll down at some, you know, for the moment, that is not the case. And I don't like to see this as the finished move, because this is incredibly 3-wavy. And I don't like it. Just because of this, I don't like it to be the end of the 5th wave. So, you know, I would like to, you know, have the idea that we're stretching out here with the 4 and 5, even though it's looking a little bit too stretched out in timing. When you compare your corrective wave with timing from your 3rd wave, if we are leaning with this speculation, you know, we're just crossing the 2.618. You know, we're over 3 times here. Well, if this is the low on your running flat, just over 2 times longer. So it's not too bad. Your corrective structure is just 2 times longer, which is pretty average for a correction to be twice the length of the impulse. So you're pretty much in you know, in the zone here. As long as you don't cross, you know, 5-6 times longer, then you're probably looking at something else. Okay, but as long as it's 2-3 times longer, that's, you know, you're still in the game, you're still in the momentum. So let's just come with the speculation that I explained the other scenario here. This could have been a zigzag, triangle in your X wave, and then, you know, what would be nice is to form a kind of a flat here to then get the push up. But what if this is your running flat right over here? And all of this comes to explaining how I am looking for the short trade, okay? Because the price could explode here and go to 98K, right? And continue rolling up, moving to the upside. But, you know, it's going to be a matter of being patient. I'm going to explain exactly, you know, what kind of price action here I want to see for me to be confident in the short position, right? You know, no shorts. We're looking at the highs to be taken at some point. So, you know, we'll look for the momentum to continue here. Looks like we want to try and pop out here, but we're still going to be hitting the resistance high. Looks like we want to attempt the breakout of the triangle to the upside, and this is, you know, this is the bullish case scenario that we're going to explain right away. If this is a multiple 1-2 setup, your C wave finished here for your 4th wave, and we're looking for our last stretch to the upside in the wave 5. If this is a double 1-2 setup, what we're looking at here, let's get the Elliott waves, and let's put this another color. There we go. What I want to see here is the 3rd wave out, right? Now we want to see that breakout. We want to come up to the highs. A swing failure pattern is not going to be, for me, an option, unfortunately. A double top swing failure pattern, for me, is not going to be an option, unfortunately. I would expect follow through to the upside. And the main reason why I would expect follow through to the upside, if we would have corrected down here and the price would have moved up like this in this structure, right? Then I would have said a swing failure pattern would make sense, because you're looking at a completion of a 5-wave structure, and then, yeah, a swing failure pattern would have been, you know, looking pretty good. But as the price action has built up in a triangle, a swing failure pattern here for me is suicidal. Why is it suicidal? To get into, and it, you know, it might swing failure pattern, but I think there's low probabilities in having a swing failure pattern from the local highs here. And you may ask, why do you think so? Because you are building up this price action very close to the highs, and you would expect you know, a significant push through. You would expect follow through here if you're forming this multiple 1-2, or just a triangle, and it's just going to be the length of the triangle, right? And we're looking at the projected move. It can be also, you know, it's usually, you know, some of these patterns do actually play out pretty nicely. The projection, right, of a triangle, the width of the triangle, that's your target zone, easy peasy. It would make sense also, considering Elliott wave theory. It would make sense because what you're looking at here to develop is a possible third wave. So you got your first 1-2, you got your second 1-2, and of course, inside of your third 1-2, what you want to see is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay, to complete your third wave from your second wave. Then what you would want to see is your 4, 5s, and another 4 and 5 on the formation. You want the same 1, 2s and the same 4, 5s. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, if you have 3 1, 2s, you would want to see after a third wave breakout 3, 4, 5s. So it would be 4, 5, 4, 5, and another 4 and 5. Right? So, you know, it's probably going to be a bit of a grind here if we were to get that breakout. You know, the overall idea would be get the third wave out and then create that choppiness, right? It's not gonna be easy. You have the point of control, you have a weekly level, you have many levels all the way up there in that zone. Naked point of controls. Yeah, the point of control of the range, sorry, which is this one right over here, which can attempt to break up at 96.5. You know, you might reject from it once, you know, and get that choppiness. It's not going to be an easy quick short, in my opinion. There's no easy quick shorts here. We need to see the exhaustion. You've got a few daily levels, weekly level, which could instantly flip as support and get a little bit more momentum to the upside. So you want to see the same 4 5s as the same 1 2s, okay? So this is what we want to see. And, you know, a lot of people would be interested to just instantly short or add to their short position. And I want to see the price action develop the last wave. And I will realize that once we get this choppiness, that will be very likely the moment where the price is going to start reversing at some point when you have your last 4 5s, right? So I need this information. I need the breakout, and then I need to wait for the consolidation. I need to wait for this kind of price action, right? And this is just, you know, this is just a projection, right? It might move ever so slightly different from this. And even the third wave can be either very explosive. Third wave might be massive and we get to 98k. And then all the way up here is where we form the 4 5s, and then we start rolling down in the next coming days, right? I do not know, you know, when we take a look at third waves, the projection, the overall common projection is the 1.618 extension. 1.618 extension, at least being high, you know, longer than your first wave, right? So 236 is fine, you know, wherever is fine, but common projections is 1.618 extension for a third wave. But, you know, even 2.618 can be hit in a third wave. You know, it really depends on how explosive. So you know, you need that price action to stop at some point. And when the price action stops after the leg to the upside in that third wave, you know, you realize that when you get the first correction, that is this right now is the moment to start thinking about the short. I'm incredibly interested in the short position here, but I understand it's early still. It's too early, and I understand there's a high chance that we do take out the highs, as mentioned on the previous video updates. Because, you know, the probabilities still lean to the upside because this looks corrective, this looks corrective, everything looks corrective. Even though it looks like it's going to roll over, we're still looking for the highs to be taken again. And, you know, for that short position, I need the next wave to the upside to stop at some point. and I will not be shorting the movement up. Even though we have the golden pocket, even though we have the point of control of the entire range of 24-25, right? The distribution, even though we got a weekly level. I mean, you can get into an intraday scalp if you wish. You're probably going to get rejected from the weekly or, you know, or the point of control of the range, right? 96.6 or the weekly at 96.3. You might get one quick pullback of a few $100s as you hit that weekly. Anybody who wants to get into a little scalp, but I would, you know, take profit at the first resistance support flip. You know, there could be some good quick rejections inside of the third wave, but you know, my game here for this short, okay, if we get the opportunity of the short and we don't absolutely moon in this third wave, right? Because there's always that option that this third wave is just going to absolutely rip, right? And we go well beyond the 1.618 extension to the 2.618. It's possible. What I need the price to do is stop. Once the price action after this breakout stops and starts ranging, starts dancing around, this is the moment that I understand that the wave could be coming to its end stages. And that's where I'm going to be interested in the short position, when I see the exhaustion after the leg to the upside, that it stops. As long as it doesn't stop, yeah, all-time high is possible, right? First stop here on the lower time frame is what I'm going to analyze to say, and my projection is coming, you know, at least down to these lows. The projection here of this short is coming down here. So I mean, it is a nice move of, you know, $5,000-6,000 at least. But we need the stop. If price does not stop, we go higher, right? We go higher. Right, and it's not being bearish and it's not being bullish. It's understanding how the price needs to, you know, develop. I understand where I need to short when we start grinding here after the third wave up. Where is the third wave going to finish? Well, it might finish at the golden pocket. It might finish at a daily level that we have at higher levels. Maybe the weekly. Maybe, you know, where is it going to stop? I don't know. So once we get that price action and the price starts chopping around, you know, preferably we do see the same amount of 1-2s in 4-5s. That's what you want to try and detect, you know, where you're going to start forming those local double triple top scenarios. Okay, so we're not out of the woods, we're not breaking, we're not, you know, this could still be that WXY, you know, sideways momentum. Regardless, you know, we are looking for the leg up, right? Regardless if this is going to be the one, or you still form that correction here, which is going to be interesting. You know, it could be a flat, as mentioned earlier on. Regardless, you know, the probabilities lean on hitting those highs at least one more time. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed a little bit of that explanation here, guys. I'm extremely interested in the short, but I'm not interested in yet, as I realize that there is a high chance that we hit this high. So why get into a short anywhere here, right? I mean, there's been some good and nice intraday scalping setups, okay, I have to say, but this is usually on YouTube. I talk about a little bit more of a projected move, you know, which, you know, the whole idea here would be finding resistance, you know, in this area, right? After the movement up, get the choppiness. And at the end of the day, you know, you're literally looking for the price to get down to these higher lows, right? At least it might go lower later on, right? It might go lower, but, you know, this is the first initial projection anyway. You know, as the price action moves to the upside, if that were to be the case, or unless we continue that flat scenario that I mentioned, right? And this ends up in a WXY flat, and then we get the push up, which is also the main option. The bearish case, because you always need to have, right, a bearish case scenario, and I'll go through the comment sections right now, guys. You know, the bearish case scenario would be, which has low probabilities at the moment, just understanding how this looks incredibly corrective though. The bearish case scenario would be looking at a 5-wave structure here being completed, but I don't like it, right? And then, you know, at the end of the day, this would be a 3-wave structure. So I do get the point of the bears here, right? Or that do see the rollover happening. You know, I do see eventually, you know, there's been resistance and rolling over. I just don't quite think that the short is valid yet, at least for me, when we look at that projection of $5,000-6,000, right? Or 7 or more. But bearish case scenario, if the price started to roll down aggressively, you would have to say that, you know, this was it. This was it. And I don't like it, because we moved up on this 5th wave with a 3-wave structure, and all of this price action looks incredibly corrective. So I'm not giving the probabilities here yet for the bears to see this as a completed 5-wave move up, okay? Based on what I explained. 3-wave move to the upside, incredibly corrective price action. You're hitting the 0.88 Fibonacci as well from the highs of Friday. Just yesterday, you hit the 0.88 Fibonacci from this movement. That's rare for a, you know, a bearish impulsive move down for a wave 2. And even your second move up today, also from the first leg down here, also hit the 0.88 Fibonacci. And, you know, if we want to count another one, then we got another one here. So the probabilities of counting a multi 1-2 here, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and get the third wave down 4-5, 4-5, right? Is low probability, right? This is a low probability movement, in my opinion, because you've hit the 0.88 Fibonacci. Is it possible? Absolutely it is. Of course it's possible, right? We can't say it's impossible. We you know, as technical analysts, we always need to give the you know, the different options and opinions, and I'm just telling you what I believe based on the probabilities here. And, you know, probabilities to take out the highs based on the local price action still is what we're looking at. Okay, so what the bearish case scenario would be this one, right? If we were to roll down here very aggressively in the next coming days, give or take, right, between today and tomorrow, we suddenly break down from this triangle, you know, and we aggressively move down. The bearish case would have to be this one. You formed already a 3-wave structure, and you have finished a 5-wave structure here in your C wave, right? Which is just ABC. That's it. You know, that you would have to give that would be the explanation if we started rolling down here like very aggressively, which, you know, in my opinion, has the lowest probability based on the explanation of the local price action of the last few days. But it would be funny, right? Because, you know, as I explained also a few days ago, for the moment, this is a 3-wave structure. And we had this similar 3-wave move to the upside. This is when Donald Trump tweeted about, I don't know what was this tweet, but we got a major pump here. And, whoops, that's the anchored VWAP, don't want that. The, yeah, I'm looking for the bars pattern here from this movement, right? We talked about this out of speculation the other day, right? When you stretch it, you know, you can see the similarities, right? Not exactly the same, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's a 3-wave move up. It's a 3-wave move up. This is kind of a little bit of the danger that there is right now for the bulls, right? I still think, you know, that the highs are not in. The highs are not in here. I think that, you know, another wave to the upside is really what we're looking at based on what I explained in the last 30 minutes, right? And that, you know, your fourth wave is still developing. You still need your fifth wave, but this obviously could move up to here, right? This could be moved around because you're still in that fifth wave. And regardless, you're in the fifth wave inside of this third wave. So you would be, you know, possible C wave is still be a third wave on the higher time frame, right? A three-wave structure. Then what would be interesting eventually after getting this, you know, if say that we do move to the upside, right? At some point, regardless if we stretch out here still in this range, that we get that movement up. We get the third wave, 4 5s, right? Boom, boom, boom. And then we start moving down. Depending on how we move down here, it's going to be incredibly interesting because we might just as well sweep up the lows and then get another leg to the upside. I mean, this is too many waves of speculation, but just so you realize that the possibility here then flips, you know, for a 5-wave move, right? Flips for a 5-wave move, and this is where we'll be looking very bullish for the next coming months to actually head to all-time high right after a possible correction here. So one last leg up here after the pullback to form a 5-wave structure instead of a 3-wave structure. I mean, yeah, this is very, very speculative. We'll get this onto updates once we get that price action, right? Right now, it seems silly talking about it because too many waves that haven't happened yet, right? But to realize that this would be bullish and to give a higher chance that this is the low and that we're heading up to all-time high, you want that 5-wave move up. You know, you want to see this kind of price action. You want to see the price action like this that happened back in 2021. Moving up very impulsively. Very, very impulsively here. Yeah, very, very strong impulse to the upside. I mean, we're not going to micro count this. We've got a strong leg here to the upside, ABC flat. You stretch your legs here also, third wave, 4 and 5. And then you have your zigzag move, 3-wave move. 3-wave correction. And then you blast off, right? So as we are at the resistance here, we want to see a little bit more of punchy momentum, right? We want to see another, you know, a large fourth wave, a fifth wave, and then the correction. But you get the idea. You get the idea. If we were to stretch our legs a little bit more, right, after some decent pullbacks, what we want to see is a 3-wave correction, which is what we had here back in 2021 to then head to all-time high again, right? So we literally, not exactly the same, but we're mirroring this price action for the moment. We are heading here to the base and the golden pocket. It's very, very, very similar price action. You know, the question is the pullback. The question is the pullback, and preferably you do create one more high, because even though you pull back here, you want to see one more high, and then you want to see the 3-wave move down, right? And when we zoom out on the daily, right, we want to see something similar to this. And if we don't get that extra high, it's a 3-wave structure, and we are not going to like that. If we start coming down to the low 80k levels, it ain't going to be looking good. It ain't going to be looking too great, because alternative here, you have a double 1-2 scenario. If you do retrace, this is not your wave 4. If you do retrace too much, I mean, there's that alternative, very bullish, double 1-2 here, then 3, 4, 5, right? You just absolutely rip, which would be unlikely. But if the price were to come down here in the next, coming days, it's going to be looking like that we're going to continue the correction here. Maybe coming down to the lows of $74,000. And nobody wants to hear that, guys. Of course, nobody wants to know about that. The bulls don't want to know about it. But the sad fact would be that, we moved up in a three-wave structure at the end of the day. And if you get such a decent pullback in a three-wave structure, and the best example here was just, a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, which is this right over here. You can easily stretch this. I'm going to stretch this. If you come down to this zone after this three-wave move up, this movement down, this is not going to be an impulse. It will not be an impulse. This would be a serious problem if we get to the consolidation that we created here at $83,000, $84,000. If we come down to this zone, there's going to be an issue here. Without a doubt, this bounce will very much be analyzed very, very carefully, because this movement up will not look bullish anymore. It looks bullish for the moment, but if we do get the leg down, then eventually, to this area, you just understand that this will not be looking impulsive whatsoever. It will be a three-wave structure. That's it, guys. We're looking at the sideways momentum to continue in the next coming months, maybe, right? Then maybe head up to all-time high. Of course, still leaning on the corrective scenario. Not bear market, guys. Not going down to 50K. Okay. I never said we were going to go down to 50K. Somebody went in the comment section. This dude, this YouTube dude was calling for 50K. I never said that. So, anyway, let's go through the comment section, guys. And for the moment, Bitcoin failing to break out from that, intraday triangle structure. For the moment, yeah, it does look like, this is also, a possibility. What is common as well? A little bit aggressive short, I have to say. If this were to be a triangle in a bearish corrective structure in a WXY, if it were to be a bearish triangle, and we are forming a WXY here, in the triangle, what is very, very common is to get your E wave to fake out. Right, this is kind of an acceptable scalp short. Your invalidation is literally the C wave high. This is actually a very, very good short trade, because the risk management is incredible. The risk management here is very, very good. Your invalidation is this one. If this were to be a triangle in your X, you get the fake out. It's very, very common on a triangle where you have A, B, C, D, E. It's very common that your E fakes out from the trend line without touching the C wave, which is literally your stop loss. If you want to get in, it's a teasing breakout, right? It's a fake out, literally. And your invalidation is your C wave. These are kind of acceptable short trades, because if this is a zigzag and you got your triangle in your X wave, then possibly you're going to get the breakdown, and then you're just going to continue the range here for the next coming couple of days potentially. So yeah, very, very common. There we go. We got that fake out. intraday scalping setup, this would have been. Yeah, you always realize that is definitely a possibility always. When you take a look at a triangle, that your E wave fakes out from the trend line without hitting the C wave, which is your invalidation, right? You know, for all of those people that do trade, you know, the triangles and understand the higher time frame, you know, possible structure. Where you know, the breakout traders are going to get into possible long positions late, right? And then of course you get this movement down. You fake out, and your invalidation is here. You know, it's always an acceptable trading setup. Interesting, something that could still develop in the next couple of days, and the range just continues instead of, you know, breaking out. Let's go right away through the comment section. Aditya, my man, much love to you, my brother. I'm in no short position. You know, this would have been a bit of a kind of an acceptable scalp short. It did move down a few $100s. If you do realize that you are in a triangle and you are in a sideways corrective structure, WXY basically, if this is your high, this is your correction, and this is the triangle in your X wave, then the best way to get into a trade in a triangle is getting in your E wave, and your stop loss is literally the C wave. So, you know, if it breaks out, you stopped out, basically. But I would only scalp this to the lows. I mean, you know, if I would have got into this short, I would have taken profits already here as a scalp. Leave some open, because, you know, what you could form is that flat, right, in your Y wave here in the next coming days. You know, very, very possible that you just continue ranging, you form a flat here. But we're coming to the end stages of for sure. If this were to be a WXY, potentially by tomorrow, we end the range already before we get to the highs. Unless this is the multiple 1-2 setup, which is still a possibility, right? Multiple 1-2 setup is still possible. And it does finally break up. Regardless, all of the probabilities, you know, lean to take out the highs at some point, regardless if the range continues or not, right? If you want something clear, right? If you want something clear, probabilities are to take out the highs regardless. Let's go. Hi, Andy. Fed interest rate decision is coming up on the 7th of May, along a lot of news coming up this week. Yes, sir. It is the 7th of May. Yeah, we have the interest rate decision. Tomorrow, we do have a little bit of news. Today, we had a bit of news. Not much. What day is it today? Oh, tomorrow, yeah. Sorry, yeah, tomorrow is Wednesday, the 30th. Tomorrow is token 2049 here in Dubai. And I'm going to see, you know, I'm going to be meeting quite a lot of people that are in the industry, technical analysts, you know, also your crypto influencers, you know, all different type of crypto projects. So I might do a little video there. I think I'm, you know, yeah, Sam from 𝗕𝗶𝗆𝗽𝗫. I know Coons going, Coons trading. There's going to be many people, you know, in the space going to token 2049, which I will take a few pictures. I might post something on YouTube or Instagram, meeting the different people. But yeah, tomorrow we've got some news. We do have some interesting news tomorrow, which is personal income, GDP growth rate. Might see a bit of volatility in this range. I'm not sure if I will be live throughout this volatility, but I think I expect the range to continue, very possibly. Okay, range to continue. Legends, remember that you do have an insane bonus on weeks. Okay, you get 20% deposit bonus, 20% deposit bonus up to $2,000 max. So if you deposit $10,000 and you wait 3 days, 3 consecutive days on your futures account, you need to transfer to your futures account those funds. You're getting an airdrop, guys, in 3 days of $2,000 max, right? 20%. You also get 25% fee reduction on your trades, which is by using the second link down below. Second link for weeks, 20% deposit bonus and 25% fee cut on your trades, legends. You only need an email and a password to sign up on weeks, legends. Okay, just an email and a password. Let's go right away. Crypto Big Brains. 𝗬𝗍 is a stop run, it looks like. Is a stop run, it looked like. 𝗬𝗍, my man, Crypto Big Brains. Much love to you, brother. What happened? What? Oh, WTF happened to 𝗬𝗍. Let's take a look at 𝗬𝗍. 𝗬𝗍 is a stop run, it looks like. Stop run. Ooh, let's take a look at that. We do have interesting liquidity still above the highs. What happened to 𝗬𝗍? Did we get a little bit of a pump, of a dump? I know 𝗬𝗍 was doing pretty good. So if people are saying what the hell happened to 𝗬𝗍, I would assume that, yeah, 𝗬𝗍's been doing very good the last few days. 𝗬𝗍 is doing great. Very, very nice rally on 𝗬𝗍. Nothing too major here. I thought you meant that something happened locally on the lower time frame today. Dropped 5% in 3 minutes. Oh, okay. It dropped. So yeah, I mean, Bitcoin did get a little dip of $500-600. Oh wow, yeah, this is a stop hunt. If you're fast enough, you're getting into the swing failure pattern here, right? If you are fast enough, yeah, this is literally a stop hunt by the looks of things. Almost coming to this low, but yeah, you literally had a stop loss hunt swing failure pattern from these lows. Very, very aggressive long trade. Anyway, let's go through the comment section, guys. I'm going to wrap it up very, very soon. 𝗬𝗫 plus 80% in 2 weeks. Nice. Really? I still hold some of the 𝗬𝗫. I bought 𝗬𝗫 at 60-70 cents. Yeah, no, 𝗬𝗫 is not up, my man. Is it? Oh, it is a little bit. Oh yeah, it is up actually. Pretty, yeah. Got a little push to the upside. I'm kind of break even on 𝗬𝗫. I bought a significant bag in this area. So one of the latest cryptos that I bought before the pump in November. Rode it all the way down, guys. Rode all over the way down, and this was a 3x, approximately, almost a 3x. My target was the highs, and 𝗬𝗫 was one of them that I rode all the way down. We just hold on to these. Hit the likes, yo Milan. Thank you very much for the insane support. As always, those people were saying to smash up the like button. Thank you very much, legends. Much appreciated. I hope that you have a great day, a great life in general. Okay, much love to everybody. You know, spending some time here. So yeah, hope crypto face was not long. DXB crypto, my man. DXB. I'm going to token 2049. Anybody around in Dubai and going to token 2049, I will be going there. So if anybody is in Dubai and going to token 2049, would it be nice to meet some people there. Legends, I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, looks like that we are going to be rangy. Maybe the idea is to, you know, claim those highs at some point. In my opinion, stay safe with your trades. If you want more daily updates, you want to join the Legends trading community. That's where you have the modules, the the updates from all of the coaches. It's the 4th link down below, guys, if you want more in detail updates every day. And you got all of the modules to learn how to trade. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.